Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming on and joining us in this session. I'm going to keep it short. We're honestly very excited to hear your feedback on the short film, so do stick around right after, as we're going to have a Q&A session.
Hello, everybody.
It's going to be
Thanks for coming on and joining us in this session. I'm going to keep it short.
Sorry, I had to mute the live stream there. Okay, so do stick around because we're going to have a Q&A session right after. We're going to introduce the director and the actress, and as well the gaffer. And of course, we have the director, Faisal Al-Hashmi, who is going to give us feedback on the film. Please make sure that for my team on my side, please make sure that your mics are on mute unless you're speaking. Okay, let's go. Waiting on screening.
I could recognize that silhouette anywhere, even after 12 years of search. You haven't made it easy for me to find you, have you?
Hey, are you okay?
Yeah, I just can't find my keys.
Oh, just one second.
You're quite attractive. Is it actually you?
Sorry, was the oven cooking dinner. Did you find your key?
No, but I called my friend and she's gonna check to see if I left it at the studio. The only thing is, she's teaching, so she's not gonna get here for like 2 hours.
That's a long time.
Yeah. This may sound weird, but could I possibly wait in your apartment until she arrives? I mean, I really wouldn't want to intrude.
Yeah,
but
of course. Are you kidding?
Thank you.
Yes, of
Thank
course.
you. That's
Please
so
come in.
kind.
Absolutely. After you.
That was easy. Old habits die hard, I guess. Oh, should I make myself at home, darling? Sweet. Okay, thank you. Okay. Stay in character, focus, smile, flirt, have a conversation. Oh, he asked me what do I do. Well, I'm a yoga instructor. What do you do? Assault women? Oh, a chef, of course. So, what are you cooking?
I'm actually working on a new sauce recipe, something that would just go great with a slowly cooked salmon.
So what makes this so special?
All culinary art for a reason, right? I mean, the devil's in the details. It's like a painting. Every single brushstroke matters. It's every slice and every spice that can mark the difference between an expert and a hack.
Smile, Sarah, smile.
Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you.
Does he not recognize me? Can I help?
Oh, no, please. You just sit back, relax, and allow me to be your host.
It's definitely him.
My mother, she never really believed I could become a chef. Anything at all in this life. But here I am.
You know what? I make these really nice, healthy juices.
Do you?
Yeah, and I've actually got the stuff with me right now. You're the chef. Why don't you give it a try and let me know what you think?
Okay. What do you need?
A glass and some ice. Okay.
There you are.
Thank you.
Let me guess. Cucumber, celery, spinach.
Stop. Just
right?
try it first. Try it first. Wow. Someone was thirsty.
For sure, it's cucumber, celery, and spinach. Wait, now, try this. Why don't you try?
You know what? No.
Did you say no?
Yeah, I said no. Because you know, my mother always told me, don't eat food from strangers. Yes, I remember you.
Hi, everyone. Alan, you can hear me? Faisal?
Yep.
How's everyone doing? We're missing Sanat in here, I believe.
Yeah, man. Yep.
Oh, there you go.
Yes. Okay, perfect. Just please, guys, make sure that your YouTube is muted.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, perfect. All right. So thank you all for tuning in. We have a good chunk of people here, so this is great. I would like to first introduce our speakers on board. So we have Alan, who is technically the main director of this short film. We have Sanat. Sanat is our gaffer. And we have Jeanette. Hi there. Our main actress, and we would like to just go through the overall journey. So I'm gonna start with Alan. If you can just introduce yourself and your experience within creating this film and the vision as well, of course.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So I'm Alan, and I am the co-director of Reprisal. It's been an incredible journey working on this film, from honestly the casting process to the final result. Watching this film come together was incredible, and seeing it right now as well. The final product, it's very. I enjoyed it very much. Well, so when it first began, let's talk, for instance, about casting. How it first came together, I knew that Janet was going to be our lead and Jorge was going to be our Adam for this film, and I think me and Perlanta had the same reaction when we were going through casting, and me and her looked right after Janet's audition. Me and Perlanta looked at each other and we gave each other side eye, and I think we communicated to each other that, yep, she's the one. She's definitely the one. And I think for Jorge, same thing. The casting process was really interesting. We got to meet a lot of interesting people, but I feel like Janet brought the character to life, and she really helped us find that flexibility in order to create this character and basically move forward with the story and create a more in-depth story to this character. And that's how we came about this this journey for this character. The full thing came together beautifully. The entire team worked really hard, and it was just really great. Such an incredible team. So I just want to thank you guys for this. Thank you, whoever's watching. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with us and seeing it come to life. I'm very grateful. So thank you all, really.
Thank you, Alan, for this. I do remember very well that moment when we saw Janet. I think actors and characters add a lot as well, and they kind of help you mend the story and make you see things that you probably haven't seen in the beginning. But I do also think the script development is very important. I do remember going so much back and forth on the script and what makes a good plot twist. And, you know, should we say too much or show too little? No, it's show too much and say too little. And we had this whole thing going back and forth. So what do you feel about the script development phase? We've had our, you know, our mishaps here and there, and trial and error kind of a thing. What do you feel was a learning curve from that perspective?
From the script development?
Yeah.
Ooh, I feel like in the beginning it was probably, I would say, when we first came together and we all started sharing our ideas, and it was definitely before the advice that Faisal gave in the end about building the suspense and then obviously changing the plot in the end to make it more dramatic or more thrilling to the audience. There was a lot of people coming together and ideas being thrown around. I think it would be what I learned for later on is to basically have not more than 2 people on it, and then basically just have that idea bounce back and forth, and then see how it could develop in the end, but not have maybe too many people on board with one specific idea. I think that one, like, kind of in the end it was just thrown around, and there's just a bit of a mess there. But then in the end, obviously we got together and then created the idea that we now saw. But if I was to do this again, I would definitely maybe lessen the load, maybe lessen the people on board with the story development, with the script development. Definitely, that's my opinion on things.
Okay. Thanks, Alan, for that. We'll get back to you in a bit. I just want to go over with Jeanette just a little bit, just to introduce yourself and tell us about your overall experience acting in this film.
Okay. So hi everyone, I'm Jeanette, and I played Sarah in the film. So yeah, I think it was one of those experiences that I didn't expect to have. It was one of the, I saw the audition come up and thought, I might give that a go, you know, and went down there, didn't really know anything about the actual project as such, but thought I'm going to give it my all and see what I can do. Had a lot of fun doing the audition. It was really good to hear a little bit about the character and to give it a little try and to see the dynamic between the two main characters. Obviously, some of the initial things that were discussed were slightly different when it came to the film, but still they had that same dynamic between them throughout. So yeah, I was really, really excited when I found out that I was going to be part of it. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I think it's one of those, I think as actors, sometimes we think that theatre is the difficult one. You know, theatre's the one where you've got to do so much work and so much preparation. And you hear it all the time. You know, people saying, well, you don't even need to learn your lines or anything, do you? Because well, you do. And it's not just that. You have to learn to be, you have to be flexible. You've got to be patient. I don't think a lot of people realise it's not just shoot a scene, shoot a scene, shoot a scene, shoot a scene, you're done. There's so much, you know, having to sit and, you know, like when you've got to get the lighting right, because it's the same scene. So it's the lighting colours got to look exactly the same. And we're just kind of waiting. And it's exhausting, isn't it? It really is. And I think this experience really helped me to appreciate how much goes into even something as small as this. And I had just a fantastic time doing it.
Yeah, that is on point. Honestly, there is a lot of effort from an actor's end, of course, and flexibility is key. But also, I feel an actor feels most comfortable when they actually know from A to Z, you know, what they're meant to do and when they're meant to do it. And actually, they're so comfortable that they have the freedom to add or take away things. And I think that's the production and the environment of the production is also, you know, that kind of complements the actor's performance. But I want to know a little bit more about Sarah's character. Who is she in the beginning and who is she in the end, kind of a thing?
It's almost seems she's this, you know, this yoga instructor. She's quite innocent. You would have kind of thought, oh, why are you going into this man's house? You know, because you don't know him. This could be quite a dangerous situation. She seems very laid back, very confident, very sweet. She seems like a sweet girl. And then in like almost a split second, isn't it? It happens. And it's, I think it was a comment that was said, and you see, I think she turns around and she has this smile, but it almost looks sweet, like really sweet when she says it, like, you know what, I have something. And that's when I think she flips completely and she becomes this cold kind of character. Yeah. So I really enjoyed playing around with the two different sides to her.
Yeah. Okay, then I'm gonna get Faisal's feedback on the overall film. You know, you came in and you gave us a big chunk of advice, and we felt like we needed to rewrite everything. We threw everything away and restarted, and we felt like we're almost there, you know. But I'd love to hear your feedback and what you thought was good and what wasn't constructive.
Yeah, I mean, when I came in, I remember you guys had sort of a structure for a film, and the cool thing is you guys wanted to make a thriller, which is awesome because that's one of my favorite genres. So it was already like I was already excited in sort of chiming in and listening to the ideas. And I think I remember as Alan said, like one of my only sort of advice was like, hey, you know, like lead people into believing you know, something else, and then sort of like pull the rug from underneath them and throw like a twist of some sort, you know, like in a classic thriller fashion. So, you know, watching the film, a lot of that really works. A lot of that really that we discussed comes through. I think the cinematography specifically is really, really good, especially early on when we see these, you know, the male character sort of looking through the keyhole, like just the angles that was like this down angle that was used, like it's really menacing and just adds like a kind of a sinister element to, you know, what just would be a mundane activity. So I think that was really cool. It's like a lot of effort was put into, you know, figuring out what kind of jarring sort of weird angles would be great for this kind of like an unsettling thriller. So that was great, and I really enjoyed Janet. Your acting was wonderful in the film. It's not an easy role to you know, to do because there's a lot of layers as to like what the audience is seeing versus what's going on in her head. So there's like a lot of things to sort of play with in the film. So yeah, I really I enjoyed the film. My only comment, I guess, would be like in terms of feedback would be like the use of voiceover. I feel like it could have had less voiceover, reliance over voiceover specifically, because I mean, I'm just, as you said, Pilar, like show don't tell is like a big sort of aspect in screenwriting. Is like one of the only kind of mantras in screenwriting or filmmaking. So I feel like sometimes voiceovers end up being sort of like a crutch that you use to like relay information rather than sort of like tell them visually. So I feel like a few things sort of in the middle of the film, when during that interaction, when you could see her character, like her thoughts, I felt like that sort of gave away a little bit of like where where the film might be going. Whereas if I didn't know what was going on in her head, I would have really been like completely like blown away with the twist at the end. So yeah, but I did like the last bit of voiceover where like when it's not like when she opens her eyes, and she's unsure about the fact that whether it was the right person after all. Like that's a great use of voiceover. You're complementing visuals and voiceover to really kind of like drive your point home. So I think, yeah, then my only feedback would be the next time you guys make a movie, try to see if you can even kind of drive home the whole show don't tell aspect and see something where minimal voiceover or no voiceover whatsoever, and just tell something that's completely visual. Since film is a visual medium, I think that'll be awesome. But otherwise, it's something, making a film like this, with the amount of participants that were there, the amount of time, very limited time. I remember you guys were shooting when I came in, you guys were shooting like a week later or something like that, or like starting the audition. So just putting something together in that like minimal amount of time, and like having it now be an actual film that we all just saw, I think that's really awesome.
Thank you, Faisal. It feels really good to hear your feedback, and I do agree on the voiceover parts. I think we all take note on that. But I want to introduce Sanat right now. Hi, Sanat. Are you with us?
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me properly? I hope you can.
I think your image is stuck, but I can hear your voice.
Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Let me just stop my video and start it again.
Sure.
Does that work?
I think it's good on my end in terms of voice, but I think we can all hear you, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. So it'll just be great to introduce yourself to everybody watching here, and just tell us about your journey within this creative film bootcamp.
So, hello everyone. I'm Sanat, and I am a second-year film student at the SA Institute in Dubai. And the moment I got this email from NOMAD, and I had heard that the audio workshops were really good, so I was really interested in joining and just seeing where it takes, what happens next. So the moment I got a text, like an email back saying that, okay, you're a part of this, I was really excited. And within a week or so, we were in that small room, all of us sitting, and just in the first few days, we started pitching ideas. And like the memory of that, kind of creating like a small writer's room within the first week itself and pitching ideas constantly every day to each other, and just kind of from there creating a germ of an idea. And that went from one idea, we went to this full script within a few weeks. And that's something that instantly, when I think about this workshop, that it takes me back to those 2 weeks, because that was really interesting even for me, because that's something I was experiencing for the first time. Because like my journey in film has been just 2 or 3 years, and this was the first time I was actually working on a professional setting. That was really a learning experience for me. And yeah, so on this film, I was the gaffer, and I had a great time working with the camera team and the director and the whole production team, just trying to bring the director's vision and to just kind of get this story and to deliver the vision. All of us were looking at this script from a different point of view, and everyone was on the same page, and we wanted that to show in the film. And I think we managed to do that, and it was, yeah, I had fun. Just those 3 to 4 weeks were really great. I had a lot of fun shooting this.
Okay, thank you, Sanat. Can you tell me a little bit more about oh, sorry, is he still, I don't know if he's still talking, or do you guys hear me?
I think there's a delay with his video, but yeah.
Okay, 1 second here. Sorry, guys. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Sanat, for that. So I just want to, actually, I want to go back to Faisal a little bit. Script writing and script development. I feel like this is the most important part of the process, to have a good story, right? Because sometimes we think if it looks good, then that could cover up the whole, storyline, but that's not enough, right? Like, when is it that you feel that this is the final draft and this story is now good enough? What is like the key points that we should be looking at and saying, okay, we've got this, this makes sense, let's go? When is it final?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question, because I mean, you could technically always, be revising a thing forever. Like if you have always, like everything that I've made, I think if I had like one more week of writing something, I probably would have changed something, and it probably would have been even for the better. So I think it's a fine line of figuring out when, when you're sort of like with gut instinct feeling like, okay, you know what, this story in the form that it is now, it is hitting all the beats that I wanted to hit. Like for me, when it's a thriller specifically, I'm trying to see it from the audience's point of view. So I'm like, okay, in the beginning, I want them to be at ease, and then I sort of want them to be unnerved as the film goes on, and then I want them to sort of be like bring their guard down at a certain point before I hit them with it. So I have these. I'm always like looking at it from what I want the audience to feel in that moment, and I feel like when I read a script and when I read a draft, I'm like, I feel like now at this point the audience is sort of on board. Like I feel like the script is doing what I want the audience to feel. And also sometimes I'll give it to a couple of friends that I trust, where I'm like, hey, read this, and if I feel like I'm getting the same reaction from them, then I know it's ready. I mean, I know I can, again, if I give it a few more weeks, I'll have a new perspective on it. But sometimes you have to go shoot. So you have to find that balance. But I think definitely, as you said, script writing is the most important part of the whole thing, especially when you're writing a thriller. Because it's all about the writing in that method, like how you kind of be unpredictable for the audience and just like be 2 steps ahead of them. And definitely visuals help, especially when it comes to thrillers, like making them look slick and making, using angles that are sort of, and that's one of the only genres where thriller and horror, where you can sort of be more experimental with your visual style. You can have sort of Dutch angles, which like this movie had a few Dutch angles and stuff like that as well. You can do stuff like that, and it almost adds to the kind of creepy sort of off kilter world that we're seeing. But again, I think the foundation has to be a strong script where you feel like it's delivering on all the things without any padding, without any sort of like filler. Where I've seen so many short films where it should be like a 5-minute short film, but it's a 15-minute short film. So I think just you have to be really ruthless in the script stage to sort of like bring it down to like its bare essentials, and just go shoot it, because it's much harder in the edit to like edit a movie down when it feels too long, because then you're just hacking something together that wasn't the original intention.
Exactly. So Alan, I just want to talk a little bit about, thank you, Faisal. That was very insightful. I think the script, the script development phase is very, very important. And Faisal, there's one thing just before I move to Alan, is the fact that because it was such a collaborative kind of a workshop, everybody had a say in the character. In the props, even in the way they look, in the way they talk, in the way they, and it's like, no, it's like this, no, it's like that. And I feel that's a learning curve from my end as well, to be running this workshop, is to be, giving it really to just one person dedicated to that completely. You know what I mean? Maybe 2 as co-writers, and then take it from there, right?
Yeah, I mean, even when I was in the room, I felt like obviously everybody had their own say on what they wanted it to be, which is a good idea in the really early stages. But at some point, you sort of have to distill it down to like, okay, between these ideas, we see this one is good, and then sort of like, okay, within this idea, what can we do? And then within that, and then you sort of like start narrowing it down. It's always good to have feedback, if somebody, but at the end of the day, like there needs to be sort of one captain of the ship, essentially, and then sort of like everybody sort of serving that idea, and everybody's ideas are. Like nobody's just going like, oh, actually, I have a completely different idea in mind or whatever. Like everybody sort of has to distill. So in TV, this is very common where people have writers' rooms. But again, it's all like there's a showrunner as well, who everybody's sort of serving the vision of like, okay, this is what I want to. This is a story I want to tell. What's the best way we can tell it? So yeah, as you said, like the next time, I think 2 people who are sort of leading on that front, and then everybody else is sort of like giving in their ideas, and the best. I think in the best way to do it is the best idea wins. It's not about ego. It's not about this thing. Everybody is like, we're all doing it in service for a cool short film. So the best idea wins. It's not about like, oh, my idea wasn't chosen and why. Like that's the best attitude to have, is like, whatever serves the movie and makes it better is the best way to go.
Exactly. So, Alan, let's talk a little bit more about Reprisal and the movie. So, what do you believe the message was here, or what was the moral of the story, if there was any, in your point of view?
Oh, I need to think about that. If we were to go into like think about it deeply, but honestly, it was to me, it was honestly just an entertaining film. Obviously, every film does have an idea or a core moral to it. However, looking at this film and the end result that came out of it, I think it was mainly just an entertaining film with elements of revenge and this girl that goes on a spree to get what she wants in the end. And then in the end, she's not really that relaxed, because is it the person that she, killed? Is that the person that was it that person, or was it another person? So really she wasn't truly relaxed in the end. So maybe it does speak, or maybe it just poses the question, is it worth it? Is revenge truly worth it? Or will you get the true happiness that you desire, or that feeling that you desire from revenge? Or should you go about doing this another way? Maybe that's one core idea that you can really take from this film. Other than that, honestly, it's a, I could say it's a mystery thriller that was very, very entertaining to watch, and see this character go on a journey. And then in the end, oh, well, she didn't really get what she wanted, or did she? It leaves that open-ended message in the end, or that makes you think about the deeper meaning of it. But yeah, if you ask me what it's truly about, I can sit here and just go on for hours, but I don't think I have the time for that. But yeah, it's a really cool story, and it was played really well. Honestly, it was showcased in a very, very brilliant way, I think.
Yeah, if I can add something to that, like at least in terms of what I got from this, like from the story, was especially with the ending. It's almost like you're almost saying like some people are a little bit more addicted to to that purpose of getting revenge rather than actually achieving it sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it almost felt like it's almost like a purpose is to keep looking for that one person, even if she's not entirely sure whether that's unconsciously unsure, or whether she still kind of wants to keep it going and sort of believe that there is still someone more to hunt. There's a film called Memento, which is a Christopher Nolan movie, which sort of had played the similar themes in the first place, where like the quest for revenge almost gives your life a purpose in a way. And so for me, it felt like the very last few moments of the film sort of were playing with that idea of like, if you achieve revenge, what then? So some people are very afraid of like the idea of like, okay, now what? Does my life still have any purpose? So it's almost like some people just want to be in that cycle of like, okay, there's somebody else to find, and just justify that. So I got some of those vibes from the film as well.
I love that film, actually, Memento. So great recommendation for those who didn't watch it. Do watch it. It's a great film. I would love to take some questions if there are any. So we've got 9 minutes to go. So if there are any questions coming in from the viewers, it's open now for you guys. But yeah, in the time being, I'd love to hear Jeanette's. What do you think of the story and the character? Was she really seeking revenge? Is he the guy? What's next, do you think? If there was, what's next?
I just wanted to, on top of what you were just saying about the kind of messages and the themes, I think also a lot of that was, Sarah's kind of point of view. But for Adam, I think we could almost say it's be careful what you wish for. All this time spying on her. Oh, here's my moment. I'm going to grab the keys. I'm going to get her in my apartment and all that. Well, look how that turned out. So I think be careful what you wish for, or jump to mind for that. But in terms of Sarah, I think, and we talked about this a lot when the script was a little bit different at the beginning. The way I had her in my head is she's done it before. I felt like that in her head, she sees this person as, and then I think it's that repeat, So when she said at the end, or was it him? She had peace for like 4 seconds, you know? Oh, yoga, da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, it wasn't him. Then she'll go out and she'll find him again and again and again. Hence, I think the word reprisal again. So yeah, I think there's something not quite right up there with her.
No, exactly. Makes sense. Sanat, do you have anything to add to that?
I do. So because when we look at the film, it looks really good, and like the night shots look like night, and the day shots look like day. So if I had to take you guys a bit behind the scenes for people who are watching, most of the shots that you see in the apartment were shot on a really bright sunny day in the Middle East. So there was like a lot of light coming through that really wide glass window we had for the balcony in that apartment in the location. So there were like three guys standing outside, and we had to like cover the whole window up. So when if for people who for people who are interested in knowing how film making works, so if you actually kind of imagine behind the scenes, if you look at that, those shots, it looks like it's an evening in some normal apartment that's like not even so high up, but it's like afternoon and it's really bright and people are standing in the balcony trying to cover that whole thing up. Or even for the other apartments we shot mostly in the evenings, but it looks like she's doing her meditation practice early morning. That was all of us trying to collaborate and create locations and sets and lighting based on the equipment we had and the vision we had for the film, and also working with the things we had. We did have equipment that was done thanks to Nomad, Sony, and First Intent. We did have good equipment, but there were times when we did leave room for creativity. Like there was a shot where we had to dolly zoom, but we didn't have the dolly track, or we didn't have the time to set up the dolly track. So we just used the tripod, and there were guys pulling the tripod back, and the DOP and all of them were just tracking focus, which was like people were using their creativity and they were trying to get the best shots possible. So yeah, if behind the scenes it is not as simple as it looks while watching the film. We did manage to, I think, get the best out of what we had. Yeah.
So I have a question for Alan and Sanat. Like, how long did you guys schedule thinking the movie is going to take, and how long did it actually take, shooting wise? Because that's always when you're making, especially when you're making one of your first films, is like you think it takes a certain amount of time, and then so many other things happen on set. You're like, oh, okay, I'm shooting for much longer than I thought.
I think, Perlanta, if I'm not mistaken, we scheduled for was it 9-hour shoots or 10-hour shoots?
Yeah, a little bit. No, actually 10-hour shoots, I think. Yes.
Yeah, some 10-hour shoots, and then we'd I think we'd stay 2 hours or 3 hours, a little bit, and then we're like, okay, no, let's go home. Let's get everything together, come back the next day, and then finish it. And then we're like, okay, we'll finish it. And then we actually did schedule. How many days did it take us to initially before the ending?
It was meant to be a 2-day shoot, right?
No, it was. I think it was meant to be.
We planned for 3 days.
3 days. Yeah, it was meant to be a 3-day.
3 days, but yeah, we didn't finish it, so we had to reschedule.
Yeah. That's the thing. We did complete everything we needed to do in 3 days, but then there was some issues with footage that was lost, and then we're like, okay,
we lost footage as well.
And then we did a one extra day, and then that was it. But that one extra day, I think it was the most tiring one, because we're like, okay, we need to redo all of that, and then we need to do some extra shots here and there, and then things obviously did go wrong, but we did handle it smoothly. It's not like let's give up and everybody's stressed. We all handled it quite smoothly, and it was honestly one of the smoothest smooth sailing shoots I've ever been on or have ever been a part of, which was great. And that's why we did manage to finish everything in time, and then maybe that one extra day, but we did finish it, and it was it was great. Sorry, Sanat, you were if you'd like to add to that.
Yeah, we did. So we planned for 3 days, but we did face a few problems in terms of we did move a lot of stuff, equipment around the locations, and we had problems with the location. Then we had problems with kind of getting what we imagined the shots to look like. Like it didn't turn out to be exactly the same way because we had to change the blocking. Then we lost footage on the first day. So there were we almost were taking off everything that could go wrong with this film. And it was for the first day, that kind of the first day, nobody gets the tone of the film right. Like the
First days
first
are
day
the
there are a
hardest.
few problems, and that, yeah, like that kind of was not as smooth. But like later from the next day of shoot, we kind of everyone knew what they were doing, and it was pretty smooth after that. We had to just schedule for another day, and like one extra day is not that bad for a short film. So yeah.
I honestly think this was like the amount of problems that came through was
Mhm.
exactly what this workshop should have been. You know what I mean? Because that's where the learning, this is where the experience is. Because,
It was like
you
a
know, it
battleground.
isn't.
You have to like you have to experience all of these things to sort
Yeah.
of come out the other side, knowing better for the next time and all of these. Yeah.
Exactly. So I would love to end this session by actually, Faisal, just letting us know, how do we move forward? How do we keep making films and making sure that as a team we're always there and we're continuing and following through? How do you do it? How do you keep going?
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to sort of do that is like always have the next idea ready, always be working on the next idea. So while one movie is in post, while it's in post production, I'm always at the back of my mind thinking of what's next. And I think that it's, you have to consciously be in that sort of mindset of like, I can't, because a lot of people, they make one short film and they'll like put that in festivals for years and just bask in the glory of that that one thing. But it's like it's always important to kind of consciously push yourself to like, what's the next, okay, now that I've learned from this, what are lessons that I can take from this, and I can challenge myself even further and make something even more challenging the next time. So yeah, I would say just it's a mentality thing, just always be finding the next thing to do. And hopefully you guys can all meet together and do something completely different, maybe not a thriller, maybe something so unique, and maybe there's no dialogue whatsoever, like you can always find a cool little prompt and do something with that.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Faisal. Thank you, everyone, for watching this session. And hopefully we meet next time on another film.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.